What on earth is going on at Alabama? I'll just say it from the jump. LSU looked like a national championship contender. We need to remember, this was a young quarterback going on the road to the reigning national champions. Come on, guys. Welcome, American football fans. I appreciate you guys for being here. It is a new dawn. It is a new day. This is the first episode of the American TJ Show. It's on that side, isn't it? This is the first episode of the American TJ Show. Now, if you follow me on TikTok, if you follow me on Instagram, you will know that I am a huge college football fan. I wanted to put together a show that incorporates my love for college football, my love for NFL, but in a bit more of a polished scenario. You can expect at least 2 episodes per week, one for college football, one for NFL. We all know that American football is good. We know that, but college football is where it's at. And I think that college football is going to grow exponentially in the UK, Ireland, and the rest of Europe. And I want to be a part of that. So here is our first episode. Let's go through week 0 and week 1 of the college football season, talk about some of the teams, talk about what's happened, and finally start the American TJ Show. Let's take a look at our first game. And there is only one place that we can go, and it's going to have to be Tallahassee, because what on earth is going on at Alabama? In week 1, Alabama traveled to Tallahassee to take on the Florida State Seminoles, and we all think that Alabama might have this in the bag. It might be a difficult game, but of course it's Alabama, and they don't lose the first game of the season. Right? Well, wrong. Florida State ran out 31-17 winners, and I'm not gonna lie, this does not look like Nick Saban's Alabama in the slightest. This looks like Kalen DeBoer's Alabama, and that's what Kalen DeBoer wants. He wants Alabama to feel like his. He wants it to look like his team, but unfortunately, Kalen, it doesn't look good, mate. Outside of a single muff punt, Alabama didn't really show anything in this game. Now, before we talk about Alabama and everything that they did wrong, we need to give a massive shout out to Florida State coach Gus Malzahn and their quarterback Tommy Castellanos. Now, Castellanos is Florida State's quarterback. He only went 9 for 14 with 152 passing yards. But guys, as you know in college football, it's not all about the box score. It's not all about the passing yards. It's not all about the completions. What did you do to help your team win? But then when you couple in his 16 carries for 78 yards and 1 rushing touchdown, then you begin to see what Tommy Castellanos and his Florida State offense is all about. Castellanos in this game, he played like a veteran, and a veteran with wheels. Now, one thing that we saw from this game is that Alabama could not handle the RPOs. For anyone that doesn't know what an RPO is, it is a run pass option. Essentially, before a play, the quarterback knows whether he's going to hand it off to the running back or he's going to pass it. With an RPO, the coach allows him to make that decision at the point of the handoff. So if you're a quarterback and you see the linebacker creeping up to the line of scrimmage trying to anticipate a run play, then you'll throw it. If you see the opposite and you see the linebacker drop off into coverage, then you'll hand it off to your running back. Alabama could not handle this. And when you have RPOs and then you couple that in with a quarterback that can rush the ball as well, now you've got 3 options. The quarterback can rush it, the running back can rush it, or the quarterback can throw the ball instead. In the 6 games under Kalen DeBoer where Alabama has played a quarterback that has rushed for over 50 yards or more, they are 2-4. This just goes to show that Alabama, they cannot deal with rushing quarterbacks. And then you couple that in with trench dominance. And trench dominance is something that we have spoken about Alabama so much. They are always controlling the trenches, whether it's O-line or D-line. Alabama always had dogs. But in this game, FSU, they just controlled the line of scrimmage. And when you control the line of scrimmage, then you've got a quarterback that can rush, a running back that's very good in the run as well, and you're running these RPOs. It is a recipe for disaster. Alabama had the opening clock-draining touchdown drive, but after that, FSU only allowed them 47 more rushing yards in the game. That is not good enough, Kalen. And while I think Tommy Castellanos, the FSU quarterback, was great, we need to talk about Ty Simpson. Now, Ty Simpson is the new quarterback coming in for Alabama for Jalen Milroe, who's obviously gone to the NFL, drafted by the Seattle Seahawks. 23 completions on 43 attempts. It's okay, but you can't be throwing the ball that much and missing 20 of your completions. 254 yards and 2 touchdowns. So it shows that Ty Simpson can get the ball downfield, but he only had 5.9 average yards per play, so it's okay. But although Ty Simpson was making about 50 to 60% of his throws, you can't put this game on Ty Simpson at all. This was effort, this was discipline, this was trench warfare. And to be honest, Kalen DeBoer also got outcoached. And while you can look at the schematics of Kalen DeBoer doing things like putting Ryan Williams in the slot, Ryan Williams did not play in the slot last season. So why are you now playing him in the slot on your first game of the season? It just doesn't work. You have to question the effort. There was so many plays in that game where you're looking at a linebacker, you're looking at a safety, you're looking at a defensive end, and you're thinking, This is not a Nick Saban-led team. And the one shining light for Alabama was wide receiver Jeremy Bernard. 8 receptions, 146 yards. Wide receiver Jeremy Bernard had an absolutely incredible day. But outside of that, you expect more from other receivers like Ryan Williams. And on the FSU defense, we need to shout out Earl Little Jr. and Justin Cryer. But now the question with Alabama is, where do they go from here? What type of team are they going to be under Kalen DeBoer? Because if you're not going to be this trench dominant, this aggressive team that we know about Alabama, you need to be tactically nice. You need to be schematically polished when it comes to the passing game, when it comes to the running game, when it comes to all the little things that make a good college team that aren't the most physical. And playoffs? We want to talk about playoffs with Alabama. Just listen to some of these games. They've still got trips to Georgia, South Carolina, and Auburn with home dates with Louisiana State, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Wisconsin, and Vanderbilt. The margin for Alabama is thin if they're even thinking about the playoffs. But based on this loss, I don't see them winning those trips to Georgia. South Carolina is going to be difficult with Lenora Sellers. Auburn as well. And then at home, you've got potential banana peels like Oklahoma, Tennessee, and Wisconsin. Wisconsin are kind of nice. Florida State, on the other hand, the sky is the limit. This is a great win, a great platform. You're now going to be ranked pretty highly. You just need to continue this. But wow, Alabama, not a great day. Nick Saban might be sitting in his house thinking, maybe I did leave too soon. Right, there is only one place that we go from here, and that is Columbus, Ohio, because we had a monster week 1 matchup between Ohio State and Texas. I think Ohio State were ranked 3 or 4 coming into the season, and Texas obviously the #1 team. Behind, you know it, Arch Manning. Should we just get it out of the way? Shall we just get it out of the way? Arch Manning, it was okay. It was okay. Now, a lot of people are going to say, Arch Manning didn't play a good game. He's overrated. This is who the real Shedeur Sanders is. But I'm not going to buy into any of that. We need to remember, this was a young quarterback going on the road to the reigning national champions. Come on, guys. If you're a football fan, look at it like this. Imagine you sign a 19-year-old centre-back, and in his first game, he's playing Liverpool, and you're asking him to go man-for-man press with only 2 centre-backs. And he's a sweeper. He's obviously going to make some mistakes. He's not going to play his most incredible game. And when you look at the box score, it doesn't look awful for Arch Manning. 17 for 30, 170 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. But a lot of that production did come in the 3rd and 4th quarter when the game slightly looked out of Texas's reach. I mean, we've got the stats here. Through the first 3 quarters, Arch Manning was 9 for 15 for 37 passing yards. Not good enough. And then 132 yards with that 32-yard touchdown to Parker Livingston. Obviously, is going to boost his stats a bit more. And 14-7, it's not bad. When we look back on this at the end of the season, I don't think we're going to look at this as people are looking at it right now. And also, when you talk about college quarterbacks, you need to talk about the offensive line. Was Arch Manning given help? Now, the Texas offensive line, they've got 4 new starters. And while it's Texas and you expect for them to come into week 1, play good football, it's going to be those short down yardage where they're going to struggle. Because it's not just about how aggressive they are, about how big they are, about how strong they are. It's about how cohesive as a unit they are. And when you come to those short downs, then that's where it's going to tell. You can see it here, that failed quarterback sneak at the goal line. That is going to come with time. Those plays are going to develop with time. And also, when you look at the wide receivers, Jack Endries, Parker Livingston, you kind of want a bit more production from the wide receivers. But moving forward with Texas, you need to be a bit more potent when it comes to offense. Julian Sayin, on the other hand, he had a steady intro into Ohio State football. 13 passes, 20 completions, 126 yards, 1 touchdown. You can tell that Ohio State, they just didn't want him to be flashy. They didn't want him to do anything outside of the box. They just wanted him to be accurate and manage the game. And you can tell that Ryan Day's game plan worked to a T. Conservative, slow, drain the clock. You want to strangle Texas because this is a big team. If you put Julian Sayin in a position where he's going to make mistakes on his opening debut, especially against a team like Texas, he might lose confidence. But now Julian Sayin is probably going into that locker room thinking, I just beat Texas and I didn't need to be the amazing quarterback that a lot of people tell me that I am. And while a lot of people came into this game asking questions about Julian Sayin, Arch Manning, Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, it was the defense that shone through. Ohio State's defense now under Matt Patricia, former Detroit Lions head coach, former New England Patriots defensive coordinator under Bill Belichick. We'll talk about him later. Arvell Reese, 9 tackles, 1 sack. Amazing game from the Ohio State defensive player. And then you got Davison Igbinosun. Now, Igbinosun is one of the most intriguing players in college football. Great cornerback, but last season you could just tell he needed a bit of maturity. A lot of penalties, a lot of drop coverages, but now he's polishing. He might be one of the best cornerbacks in the whole of college football this season. 10 tackles, 1 pass deflected. Just watch out for Igbinosun this season. And then you've got Jermaine Matthews coming in with 3 tackles and that big interception. And then obviously we've got Caleb Downs. Caleb Downs, as always, played an amazing game with 5 tackles. This is one of the, if not the best defensive player in all of college sports this season. And because it was a 14-7 game, there isn't really much to unpack, because if I am going to unpack, it's just going to be opinions that I don't really agree with. I think Arch Manning, for the circumstances, was okay. However, Arch Manning is going to need to grow very very, very fast. And in these next couple of games with Texas, you need to show us something. Right, you guys know where we're going to go, right? The battle of the Death Valleys in week 1. The LSU Tigers versus the Clemson Tigers. This feels like such a cool rivalry. Let's get into it. LSU comes out winners 17-10. And to be honest, I was very, very shocked. I'll just say it from the jump. LSU looked like a national championship contender. And the overall story here was a tale of two quarterbacks. You got Cade Klubnik for the Clemson Tigers, and then you got Garrett Nussmeier for the LSU Tigers. And really, this was billed as a battle between two NFL-ready quarterbacks, but this game just showed which quarterback can handle the most pressure. Now, LSU coming into this game knew one thing. They could not handle that Clemson defensive line. And let's talk about that Clemson defensive line. Peter Woods, defensive tackle, former 5-star. You've got TJ Parker. He could be a top 5 pick as an edge rusher in this year's draft. And then you've got Stephon Green, who I don't know much about, but he played a great game at defensive tackle as well. So coming into this game from an LSU offense perspective, your offensive game plan needs to be precise. You've got a crazy Clemson defense that's going to try and get to that quarterback, so you need to get the ball out quick. And this was shown because Garrett Nussmeier's average time to throw was only 2.14 seconds. And what that does is that gets the ball out before the defensive line can even get to you. And it shows in the box score for Garrett Nussmeier. 38 throws, 28 completions, 232 yards gained through the air, and 1 touchdown. It is a very good showing against such an elite defensive line in Clemson. Now, when we look at the other quarterback on the other side, Cade Klubnik, this was a bit of a techie matchup. Now, one thing that we need to clarify out of the jump, Cade Klubnik did not have his number 1 wide receiver, Antonio Williams. He had to lean on true freshman Bryant Wesco Jr. And although Wesco Jr. is a 5-star freshman, that is not the kind of matchup you want against LSU in the opening game of the season. And it showed in Klubnik's box score, 19 for 38, 230 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception. 50% on any quarterback showing is not going to be good. Now, Wesco did have a decent debut with 66 yards passing, and then you had TJ Moore, the other true freshman on the other side. He got another 55 yards, but LSU's corners had a pretty standard game. But the real credit for this game has to be given to LSU's defense, and oh my gosh, they look playoff ready. Harold Perkins Jr., number 7 redshirt junior linebacker, he's a freak athlete who decided to stay at LSU rather than going to the draft. He picked up 5 tackles, a sack, and 1.5 tackles for loss. And then you've got Patrick Payton as well, number 6, junior edge rusher, a Florida State transfer. He added another sack. Together, they made every Clemson drive a fight in the trenches. But takeaways from this game, Nussmeier played like a pro. LSU's defense is finally title ready. They might make a push for the national championship, but Clemson, they've got a clear ceiling. I don't think they're as good as a lot of people thought coming into the season. Cade Klubnik, you're going to need to show us more. If Antonio isn't there, you need to do something. Right, let's flip through some other games very quickly because we had a lot of games that I need to talk about, but we don't want to be here for years. University of Southern Florida takes down the Ashton Genty Broncos 34-7. And I'm going to call them the Ashton Genty Broncos because, guys, USF, you scored 7 points. You're Boise State. You were ranked 25 coming into the season, and you have been put down by US. Not to shade USF. They're a very good team, but we expect more from Boise State. But Boise State, that was a rough watch. And Maddox Madsen, I expect a bit more from you. I do expect a bit more from you. 25 of 46 for 225 yards, but 4.9 yards per attempt. Not good enough. 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. 11 carries, 31 yards, and a lost fumble. It's not going to cut it, Maddox. It's not going to cut it. But shout out to USF quarterback Byron Brown, 16 for 24, 210 yards, no turnovers, and another 43 yards on the ground with 2 rushing touchdowns. And then we need to shout out that Bulls defense because they were elite all night. You had Jalen Schuler, junior linebacker, 14 tackles. Deshaun Rucker, senior defensive back, Tennessee transfer actually, another 11 tackles for him. And then Mac Harris, sophomore linebacker, added 8 tackles and a forced fumble. The USF defense, they didn't need sacks. They didn't need to cause much havoc, but they just stopped Boise from playing their game. And now Boise State, if you're thinking about the playoffs, it's going to be tough. You need to run the table in the Mountain West, and you need to pull off an upset against Notre Dame. If you don't do those things, no playoff for you guys. And University of Southern Florida, USF, that might be a G5 playoff team. They looked very, very good. But we need to see Boise State against the Mountain West, see who they really are, and we need to see USF against other teams as well. We need to see who they are as well. Let's move over to the big rivalry game between North Carolina State and East Carolina. North Carolina State comes out winners 24-17. And this really is a tale of two halves. Because NC State at one point was winning 17-0, and then they do this thing where they play conservative. Cornerbacks play underneath, and that was actually working against East Carolina. And then East Carolina had the idea, they were like, well, let's just air it out. And that's how they get back into the game. The ECU Pirates, they were trying to force the run, and they only had like 1 yard per carry. And then they give it to Hauser, and they say, boy, just fling it. And while you can see that the NC State front line is playoff ready, they have got an insane front seven. It is their cornerbacks and their coverages that need some work. But really, we need to shout out CJ Bailey, because the stat line doesn't seem amazing, but if you watch the game, oh my gosh. 24 for 34, 318 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Now, first half, he looked like a sleeper Heisman pick. Second half, he looked like the NC State quarterback. No shade, NC State. With CJ Bailey, those first 2 quarters, he looks crisp, he looks polished. And then second half, the mechanics, they begin to float away. If CJ Bailey is going to continue to have a good season with NC State, possibly push him into a top 25 ranking, the mechanics, they need to stay polished throughout the game. But guys, that is week 1 in the books of the American TJ show. I hope you've enjoyed. Next week, we're going to have a segment for the college football, and we're going to have a segment for the NFL. But if you have liked this video, if you like the concept, if you want to see more, if you like hearing a British guy talk about American football, whether you're British, whether you're European, whether you're American, whether you're Brazilian, whether you're Swahili, give me a subscribe, but also like that button down below.